The reason it's so painful when your narcissist moves on so quickly after the relationship ends is because you've invested so much into the relationship, especially if you were with them for years or even decades. There are so many aspects of a narcissistically abusive relationship that are devastatingly painful. And when you look at all of the different ways that they hurt you and the complexity of the pain that you experience within that relationship, it's the most hellish kind of experience that you can go through. That's why I call it the kiss of the curse, because it really feels like you've been kissed with some kind of curse that poisoned you, while at the same time you were under this impression that it was pleasurable, that it was passionate, and that was an indication of love. But it's the deepest, darkest type of betrayal that you can experience, because you gave this person your heart, you gave them your love, you gave them access to your soul, and they violated it, they desecrated it. And as a result of that, you're left in this crippled state, and you have to figure out how to navigate out of the labyrinth of lies that they've laid and trapped you in throughout the duration of the entire relationship. And the pain and the grief that you experience in the aftermath is directly proportional to the amount of love and the amount of access that you gave to the narcissist. And so when you look back on everything that you went through with this person, you understand, not just on an intellectual level, but on an emotional level, a bond was formed. You formed a bond with them. You loved this person. You gave them your heart, which is why you experienced the intense pain, the excruciating pain, and that debilitating grief that you experience. And when you see them simply move on and they're with a new person and they're behaving with this new person in the way that they behaved with you, they're, just comfortable, and they're going on trips and doing different things with this person, it makes you question the entire relationship. If they can casually just move into this level of comfort with someone new, just in the same way that they were comfortable with you, then what does it say about all of the years that you had invested, the years that you invested with them? And it feels diminishing. It diminishes all of that time, all of that investment, all of the experiences, to see just how quickly they move on. But what I want to say to you is that their ability to just move on like that is in no way a reflection on you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their disorder. It has everything to do with the fact that they do not form bonds the way that you form bonds. That's why you had to take time. You had to take time out. You had to grieve. You had to go through a period of processing the relationship and understanding what happened to you throughout the duration of that experience. You have moments where you think about the narcissist, you ruminate, you reflect, their experience is quite different. You have to understand that throughout the entire relationship, you were fighting for the relationship. You endured that hell because you were working toward a vision of something you valued from deep inside that you wanted to create with this person, a life that you wanted to create with this person. But for them, it was quite different. They're transactional. They're superficial. They're shallow. They're selfish. And they're emotionally crippled in that they don't form that type of mature bond. They don't feel that deeply. And so whenever there was conflict, whenever there was something that needed to be resolved, for them, it was never about trying to repair the damage to the relationship. For them, they were trying to win. They saw themselves as being in competition to you. Everything they did to minimize you, belittle you, to make you feel insecure about who you were, it was always about them. So when you understand that this person didn't have the capacity to love on the level that you have the capacity to love, and that the bond that this person failed to form, that because they don't form the type of bond that causes them to suffer over you when the relationship ends. They may and often do suffer over the loss of resources, over the loss of supply, over the injury of you telling them the truth about who they are. They suffer over things like that, but they don't suffer over you as a person. And so because of those emotional limitations, because of their shallow perspective, they are able to move on that quickly and to simply replace you. But what you want to do is you want to understand that it's a direct reflection of the fact that this person does not form mature emotional bonds. And it's also a direct reflection of the fact that this person does not feel on the same level that you feel. And it's precisely because of those limitations that they have that they won't ever be capable of experiencing the type of love that you can experience. They won't experience the type of bond and the type of secure attachment that you're capable of experiencing with another human being. The tendency is to imagine and to, just misuse the imagination to torment yourself, believing that somehow the narcissist is going to change and become a better version of themselves for the new supply. But the reality is they just don't have the capacity to do that, especially if you were with them for years and you got to see their behavior, then you want to understand that the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So all you have to do really is think about all of the situations that you went through and experienced when you were going through hell with this person. And that tells you that they're not going to change. Nothing about them is going to change. But even with that understanding, you want to get to a point where you shift your focus off of them, as painful as it is to see just how frivolously they discard the relationship and the investment that you thought they were making with you and the investment that you had with them. Even as painful as that is, you want to go inward. You want to look at yourself. You want to look at and just feel the pain that you're going through. Sit with it, listen to it, because the purpose of pain is to raise your level of consciousness. You want to hear the message behind the pain and slowly start to rebuild your life. Because the character in the story that you were in with this narcissist in this shared fantasy, that character has died. And the death of that character is another aspect of what you're mourning. You're mourning the loss of the relationship. You're mourning the death of who you were in that relationship. And you're mourning the death of the person you thought the narcissist was. And so with all of that grief, you have to rebuild and sit with the pain, process the pain. You have to figure out how to feel safe in your own body again after being in that constant state of fight or flight. And you also want to slowly and at your own pace, little by little, start to build a life that feels good to you, that feels authentic to you. And as you slowly build that life, the pain and the grief that you felt in that initial discard, what you'll notice is that over time, that pain and grief will diminish. The kiss of the curse is something that no one can understand unless they go through it. And although it diminishes, it really doesn't, that grief really doesn't go away. It's just like if a child dies, it stays with you. But for me, it's analogous to a fire that was an inferno. And initially it is an inferno, but then it diminishes over time and it becomes this almost like a small flame, like you might see on a lighter. And you put it in a room and you close the door and you lock the door on that section of the house and you start to rebuild the house and you add sections to that house, and that's the new life. And the more you add to it and the more beautiful you make it, that room that you have locked with the small flame, even though the flame is there, that room becomes less and less significant over time.